Jurickson Profar has signed a 1-year deal with the Colorado Rockies, but the question is, did the Blue Jays miss out on the outfielder who had a great year last year with the San Diego Padres? And to add on that, we'll be reacting to the Jays versus Rays in today's spring training matchup, so you won't want to miss this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. I want to thank you all for the support that we've gotten. It's been unbelievable. We got a lot to break down today, even though it was a bit of an uneventful game. Some news did come out around Major League Baseball, so we'll be reacting to that. And we'll also have a couple of storylines that we took away from today's Toronto versus Tampa Bay game. So thanks once again.
Yeah, support's been great. Make sure to hit the subscribe button before we get into all the news. We're close to 7,000, so it'd mean the world if you could do that. And let's just get right into the first topic, which is the Jays miss out on a potential target. Now, this is more of a question regarding the target part. Of course, as of today, I believe this afternoon around noon Eastern, it's at per John Heyman, the Colorado Rockies are signing Jurickson Profar to a 1-year, $7.75 million major league deal with incentives if he reaches 400 plate appearances. Now, we've made a couple videos in the past during the offseason before spring training started about how the Jays, they had some mild interest in Jurickson Profar. That kind of cooled down towards the end, and I'm not sure if he was a target now necessarily. But what are your thoughts on that deal for the Rockies, and if you think the Jays should have given him a similar offer at that price?
Well, he was definitely a target for the Blue Jays for sure, especially to fill out that fourth outfield position. And I think Jurickson Profar wants to play every day, and I think he's going to go ahead and do
Yeah.
that in Colorado. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to be the everyday left fielder because they got a guy named Chris Bryant over there that they signed to a massive contract just a year ago. So I think he's going to go back to his utility role, and I think that's why he found so much success last season in San Diego. He was always that utility guy that would play shortstop, that would play second base, third base, then move around to the outfield. He never truly had a position that he was playing each and every day. But last year, he played 152 games, which was a career high for him, and he played each and every game in left field and sprinkled in some DH every now and then. But he found a home over there and allowed him to be consistent. And he put up his best season as a pro, 3 wins above replacement, and definitely would have been a target. So I'm a little shocked that it's only a 1-year deal, 7.75, but good for him.
Yeah, it seems like a deal the Jays definitely could have matched if they wanted to. But again, like you said, I think the playing time was the biggest issue there. And we're already pretty pressed, especially in the utility role. So maybe he's going to get more playing
Yes.
time with the Rockies. And it's something that, hopefully, I'd assume the Jays considered, but something that maybe didn't go through. But let's move on to the next topic now and let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that. But let's move on to the next topic now, which is Merrifield impresses in the outfield. And Peter, today's game wasn't televised, but we saw some clips on Twitter, which doesn't usually happen for untelevised games, especially at the Trop. But Merrifield played some very good defense, and a tweet came out saying that maybe he was better than Robbie Grossman after all. I'm talking about Jay's targets earlier in today's video. I don't know. Merrifield has been unbelievable. And before we get into the stats from today, what were your thoughts on him just throughout the whole spring training before we move on?
Yeah, he's been very good at the bat, and the whole talk has been about him being the everyday second baseman and competing with Kevin Biggio and Santiago Espinal. And we've seen some great things out of those two guys that are competing with him. But Whit Merrifield has shown us why he's been one of the most consistent hitters in all of baseball over the past 4 years, not including last season, of course. But he has looked real good all spring, and I feel pretty good with having him out there as the everyday fourth outfielder, or even as the everyday second baseman with some outfield sprinkled in every now and then.
Yeah, and I'll pop up in case you missed it or weren't listening to today's game. Here's the box score for the game as of, I believe, the 8th inning or 7th inning. I had basketball, so we had to record this a bit earlier, plus all the starters are out now. Springer went 1 for 2, continued his solid play. Brandon Belt, very nice game. He's now hitting 364 on the spring with a great on-base percentage. Varsho continues to struggle, which we're going to touch on in a little bit here. But looking at Whit Merrifield, he didn't get a hit today, but here's the play he made, and I'm sure a lot of you guys weren't able to see this, and I'm going to warn you in advance. Quality is really weird. It's not very good simply because the angle that it was taking at from whoever recorded this wasn't great, but you can still kind of see. So the ball's hit the left field. Bear with me here. It took me a while to figure this out. You can kind of see the left fielder there. He plays it off the wall, which is Whit Merrifield, fires a rifle to second, tags him out, guns him down. Now, honestly, the quality is not much better than that on Twitter, but you can go to Chris Black's Twitter if you want to see the full clip. But what were your thoughts on that play? And if Whit Merrifield can play defense like that, then maybe the fourth outfielder spot is solved internally.
Well, he's got great speed, and he's shown that with the stolen base numbers over the past few years. I think he's the leading I don't know leading guy in stolen bases over the past 3 years or
Yeah,
something
he had a lot.
ridiculous like that. So he's a consistent guy in that department. The athleticism plays in any outfield position, and he's a smart heads up player. And we know that about Whit Merrifield, and I have no doubt in my mind that he can be a solid contributor in the outfield, but I do want him to be the everyday second baseman just because his potential might not be as high as guys like Kevin Biggio and Santiago Espinal, but I really think his floor is also the highest. He like even in a down year, I think he can still hit 250 and still drive in runs and be a solid guy at the bottom of the order. So I'd like to see him get consistent playing time and develop a rhythm right out of the gate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would like to see him at second. That being said, though, if for whatever reason we need to play him in the outfield, I feel confident enough to throw him out there. Maybe not in a full time role, but in the spot start here and there. And I will pop up the screenshot that I talked about regarding Keegan Matheson and Whit Merrifield, saying that Whit Merrifield might be the most underrated piece of this Blue Jays roster entering 2023. Fine defensive play in left field to open the game, fielding a liner off the wall. So overall, very, very solid game out of Whit Merrifield from what we could tell. And we got a little bit of a clip there. But again, this game wasn't televised, so it was a bit hard to see. But another thing we could see from the box score was which was Manoah being dominant today. And we'll touch on that again. Today's game wasn't televised, so it was a little bit rough for, and unfortunate that we didn't get to see Alek Manoah pitch like we have in, I think, every other spring training game so far. But I'll pop up his stats for you very quickly here. He's went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts. And Peter, obviously we couldn't watch today's game, but what were your thoughts on, I guess, his outing so far and what you could tell from this outing?
I mean, he only needed 70 pitches to get through 6 innings, and that's around 12 pitches an inning. That's super efficient. Obviously, he struggled a little bit with his efficiency in his previous starts, but with Alek Manoah, I touched on it in earlier videos. I just think he's bored. He wants the regular season to start. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to get that ball on March 30th against the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're just going to let him go to work. No pitch counts. The shackles are coming off, and he's just ready to go. Full throttle once opening day comes around. He's getting better and better with each start. Obviously, he's not a strikeout guy. I'm not expecting him to get 10 Ks through 6 innings. That's just not who he is. But he's a workhorse. He's going to eat innings for you, and he's just a solid pitcher to be spearheading staff.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a good point, really good point on his pitch count there. As Keegan Matheson tweeted that Alek Manoah got up to 70 pitches over 6 innings of 1-run ball. He's right where he needs to be. And today looked like a lot like a regular season start, which was good. He gave some insight because he's obviously at the site. But 70 pitches over 6 innings is very, very impressive. And I completely agree with what
Yeah.
you said. He seems ready to go. He seems ready to go all spring, even the games where he didn't, the numbers weren't great. He just looked pretty bored out there. And one final screenshot here. And this was, give some insight if you listen on the radio. With a man on third and just 1 out, Manoah clamped down and struck out both Wander Franco and Josh Lau to strand the run. Something about Manoah. He's at his best at runners in scoring position. So that was a good bit of insight from Damon there. If you did listen to the game, you would have caught that, but I know a lot of you weren't able to today. But any final thoughts on that before we move on to the final topic?
Yeah, he's a gamer. And all advanced metrics aside, all, stuff aside, velocity, movement, put that all on the back burner because Alek Manoah doesn't care about it. And you could underrate him as much as you want to, but when the lights are the brightest and when the pressure is at its best, he's going to come out there and he's going to perform. Don't look at that one game that he had in the wild card series there. He is a true performer. He's a gamer and he gives you a chance every time he's out there on that mound. He loves the pressure situations and he's ready to go, man. I can't wait for the season.
Yeah, only 11 days away. It's going to be exciting to see how he performs on opening day. And let's move on to the final topic now. We'll touch on this quickly, which was Varsho's struggles continue. Now, Daulton Varsho's had a pretty rough spring so far, but again, like we mentioned, it's just spring. He struck out again twice today, as you can look here, bringing his average down to 171. And Peter, I'm just going to let you touch on it. I was a little bit concerned, but obviously it's just spring training, so I'm not really going to worry too much about anything. But it would be nice to see him get a couple more hits, though he started to look more comfortable at the plate. I guess he just kind of lost it the past couple games. But what are your thoughts on his spring so far? And do you have any concerns about Daulton Varsho going forward, or do you think it's just, I guess, the spring training woes with the new team?
I don't have any concerns, and if we're gonna talk about Dalton Varsho and his struggles, we got to keep the same energy for Matt Chapman. I mean, their batting average is just 10 points apart. Matt Chapman's batting 182, Daulton Varsho is 172 or 171,
Yeah.
whatever. So it's just spring training. I'm not concerned about the results. Daulton Varsho is a very aggressive hitter throughout the regular season, as evident with his 302 on base percentage last year in a full slate of games with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He doesn't take a lot of pitches. He likes to ambush fastballs early in the count, and he's not really doing that this spring. He wants to see a lot of pitches. He's coming to a new team in a new league, and it's an adjustment for him. We saw it with Matt Chapman last year in the first few games of the year. He struggled mightily. He was hitting under 200 for the better part of the first half. And then he figured it out. He went on a tear. The power started to flash, and things turned around for him, as evident in his numbers. And I expect the same with Daulton Varsho. I've been saying it since the beginning, since the Blue Jays got him from the Arizona Diamondbacks. It was going to be an adjustment for him, and it's going to be a rough start to the season. He's got a lot of expectations. He's got to perform, and I think he will once it's time to do that.
Yeah, and the spotlight's going to be on, at least within the Jays fans, on him versus how Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. performed. But I completely agree. And that was a great point about the Matt Chapman thing. You can see their averages there, only 11 points apart. And they're both kind of similar in the sense of phenomenal gloves, and they're glove-first players. So, again, it's spring, and Varsho is a very aggressive hitter. Doesn't get on base a whole lot, but when he does, it's usually extra base hits, home runs, and he's very aggressive. So that doesn't really translate to spring all the best. And again, it's a new team. His first time being traded and going from Arizona to Toronto is a huge, huge shift. So I'm sure he'll be
Yes.
okay. But any final thoughts on that now before we wrap up the video?
Yeah, and you touched on it, man. I mean, he's a glove first player. So, like, look, man, if your hitting goes in a slump, you know one thing will not go in a slump. That's your glove. Hitting comes and goes. It's a long season, 162 games, ebbs and flows. You're gonna have those slumps, those 12 to 15 game slumps where you couldn't hit water if you fell out of the boat. But no matter what, if you're in that lineup, your defense is going to be there. And that's the kind of player that Daulton Varsho is. He doesn't take plays off. He's a hustler around the bases, and he's going to provide value no matter how well he's hitting. The power's going to come. I expect him to hit 25 plus home runs, might even go for 30 with a smaller ballpark, easier to hit division. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he can do this year.
Yeah, me as well. And he'll provide value with the glove, whether he's hitting or not. So that'll be good. But that'll wrap up this video. Bit of news, bit of games, and we're grinding. We're getting close to opening day. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you like the daily content. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video.
Thanks.